In today's show, I'll be breaking down the latest Bitcoin technical analysis, as well as Gemini returns $2.18 billion to earn users following their 18-month withdrawal freeze. About time. We'll also be discussing a big win for not the SEC. Judge dismisses debt box case and orders the SEC to pay $1.8 million in fees. Take that, Gensler. We'll also be discussing BlackRock's IBIT overtakes GBTC as the world's largest Bitcoin ETF. We'll also be discussing breaking news, crypto market to hit $200 trillion market cap within the next 10 years, according to the Animoca co-founder. We're also going to be discussing breaking news of El Salvador's Bitcoin and AI plans could boost their GDP tenfold by 2029, according to Cathie Wood, who just actually met up with President Bukele alongside Stacy and Max. And quoting Max Keiser, ARK Invest numbers are spot on. Personally, I've borrowed against my Bitcoin and bought several properties and brand new buildings and hotels. El Salvador, like MicroStrategy, can outperform Bitcoin over the next 5 years. Move to Bitcoin country. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this, plus so much more, in today's show. Everyone new to the channel, very important to smash those likes and subscribe, as it helps out tremendously with the YouTube algo. And if you're streaming on X or Rumble, make sure to repost this, spread the word. Greatly appreciated. Today is pod episode number 1654. I'm your host, JV, and it's May 29th, 2024. Let's kick it off with our market watch, as we do each and every day. As you can see here, Bitcoin in the red, but we're still holding on to 67,300. Ether also down 2%, trading back under 3,800 as the majority of the alts are correcting and in the red. And checking out coinmarketcap.com, we're sitting on a 2.53 trillion market cap with 84 billion worth of volume for the past 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance has been back on the decline at 52.6%, with the Ether dominance at 17.9% even. And the Bitcoin market cap right now, 1.3 billion, just above. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers for the past 24 hours, we got Notcoin up 6%, WorldCoin, can't scan my retinas, up 4%, and Bidget token up 4%, as the majority of the alts, as I mentioned, are correcting and in the red. But let me know which alts in particular, if any, you're most bullish on for this particular bull. And checking out the crypto bubbles to get a visual perspective of the market. On the day, the majority most definitely in the red, maybe 30%-ish in the green. And zooming out on the monthly to get a broader perspective, we can flip that. Safe to say 70%-ish of the market back in the green. And checking out Crypto Greed and Fear Index. We're currently rated as 72 in greed. Yesterday, 72. Last week, a 76. And last month, a 67 in greed. So there you have it, my crypto la familia. Let me know where you feel the Bitcoin price is likely to take us for this month of May, for the monthly close, as there's only, I guess, 2 days left. I'm sorry, yeah, 2 days. The 31st is the last day of the month. So only 2 days left, family. Where do you think we'll close? Above 70, below 70, holla. Let's dive into today's Bitcoin technical analysis. A little astrology for the broski, shall we? Headline reads, Bitcoin diamond hands cut the selling by nearly 50% at 73,800. That's the infamous current all-time high we struck back in March. How many of you remember? Feels like yesterday. So yeah, in a new research report on May 28th by Glassnode, they showed the selling pressure from the older coins is barely half as intense as the prior bull market tops. That's right. Where my long-term hodlers at? They continue to resist the urge to take profit, even with Bitcoin price action near 70,000. That's because hodl be thy name. We already know. Despite being in profit by an average of 3.5 times, the long-term hodler wallets are so far not selling their biddies at a rate that would make the current bull market unsustainable. Quoting the week on chain from Glassnode, as price appreciate in response to renewed buy-side pressure, the importance of the opposing side, the sell-side pressure from the long-term hodlers, grows in tandem. Therefore, we can evaluate the unrealized profit of the long-term hodler cohort as a measure of their incentive to sell sell and their realized profit to assess actual sell side. So the long-term hodlers refers to the wallets holding inbound Bitcoin for 155 days or more and reflect what should be less speculative end of the Bitcoin investor spectrum. And using the market value to realize value, which is the MVRV metric, Glassnode showed that soon long-term hodlers en masse will enter historically high levels of unrealized profit. Bring it, quoting them here. Historically, the transition phase between a bear and a bull market sees long-term hodler trade above 1.5, but below 3.5 and can last for 1 to 2 years. And they also shared that if the market uptrend remains sustainable, forming new all-time highs in the process, the unrealized profit held by long-term hodlers will expand. This will substantially elevate their incentive to sell and eventually leads to a degree of sell-side pressure that gradually exhausts the demand side. Now, let's also discuss long-term hodler sell pressure has noticeably contracted. Even at the 73.8 all-time high, long-term hodlers were not distributing to the market as heavily as during the prior bull market blow-off tops, quoting the report again. During the last 2 bull markets, the long-term hodler net distribution rate reached a substantial 836,000 and 971,000 Bitcoin per month. And at present, the net sell pressure peaked at 519,000 Bitcoin per month in late March, with approximately 20% of this originating from the grayscale ETF hodlers. Glassnode referred to the ongoing selling by investors in the GBTC product, an institutional investment vehicle that lost its pole position among spot Bitcoin ETFs by assets under management this week, which we'll dive into further detail a little later. We'll be discussing BlackRock's IBIT overtaking GBTC. And quoting them a couple more times from the report, in the wake of significant long-term hodler investor distribution into the 73,000 all-time high, sell-side pressure has noticeably contracted. The long-term hodlers have since started to reaccumulate coins for the first time since December of 2023. So there you go. Crypto fam, long-term hodlers, where you at? Where you at? We right here, dog. Lock Sky just gifted 5 memberships of the channel. Greatly appreciate that, broski. Congratulations, Mr. Menendez, the Dusty Hunt, Motivate, Patrick Bryant, and Rakondo Zed. You've all been hooked up with a MicroStrategy membership of the channel on behalf of Lock Sky. So show Lock Sky some love. But anyways, let's dive into our next story of the day and discuss the latest good news from Gemini Earn. You remember when he got attacked by the SEC? Well, Gemini returns $2.18 billion to Earn users following the 18-month withdrawal freeze. About time. How many of you were impacted by this? Let me know. The Gemini exchange, owned by the Winklevoss twins, kicked off the process of reimbursing users of its now defunct lending program, Earn. According to the announcement, Gemini Earn users were paid $2.18 billion in digital assets May 29th today, representing 97% of the assets owed to users and 232% recovery following an interruption of withdrawals by Genesis, the former Gemini Earn partner. Quoting them here. This is just in. This means, for example, if you have lent 1 Bitcoin to the Earn program, you will receive 1 Bitcoin back, as it should be. Good for them. And it means that you'll receive any and all appreciation of your assets since you let them into the Earn program. I think this is fantastic news because you saw what FTX did. They took Bitcoin at the lowest price it was, like back when it was 16,000, and people who had Bitcoin stuck in the FTX exchange, instead of receiving their entire Bitcoin back, they got the cash equivalent at the time it was at the lowest, which is robbery, if you're to ask me. So kudos to them for doing the right thing here. The fund distribution was a result of a settlement reached with Genesis and other creditors in the bankruptcy process. Genesis Global, the crypto lender part of the digital currency group, filed for bankruptcy January 2023 after suspending withdrawals amid a liquidity crisis. In November of 2022, the court recently approved the Genesis to return $3 billion in cash and crypto to its creditors, quoting them here. This represents an unprecedented recovery amongst crypto bankruptcies. We reached a settlement in principle with Genesis and other creditors, which will result in all Earn users receiving 100% of their digital assets back in kind. Very rare indeed. Let's go. The New York Attorney General announced May 20th that her office secured a $2 billion settlement with Genesis to address investor fraud claims. The settlement ordered Genesis to return the funds to investors and cease operations in New York. Genesis has been accused of misleading investors who deposited more than $1.1 billion through the Gemini Earn program. And finally, it's important to note that the Genesis bankruptcy was not a crypto problem. It was an old-fashioned financial fraud compounded by the lack of regulatory clarity. Did you hear that, Mr. Gensler? Lack of regulatory clarity is the cause of this. So why are they blaming Gemini and the Winklevoss twins? It sounds like this is Gary's fault. What are your thoughts, family? Let me know. And it just feels good to have some form of a victory in the sense that everyone who lost their biddies is going to recover the full amount. So kudos to them. Let's discuss the latest SEC loss, shall we? Yeah, check this out. The headline reads, Judge dismisses debt box case, orders the SEC to pay $1.8 million in fees. That's what's up. The federal judge ordered the U.S. SEC to pay roughly $1.8 million in attorney and receivership fees related to the regulator's civil case against digital licensing, the firm doing business as DebtBox. In a May 28th filing with the U.S. District Court of the District of Utah, Judge Robert Shelby signed off on an order requiring the SEC to pay roughly $1 million for attorney fees and costs and $750,000 for receiver fees and costs. The order came the same day as one dismissing the case without prejudice. I personally love the fact the SEC took a big fat L. Good for them. The judge cited a March ruling in which a court found the SEC engaged in a bad faith conduct. Over a temporary restraining order to freeze DebtBox's assets. The firm later filed documents with the court claiming the commission's information was inaccurate, leading to a threat of sanctions. The sanctions against the SEC required the commission to cover all attorney fees and costs arising from the improvidently entered ex parte relief. Judge Shelby essentially ruled that all costs requested by the defendants in the case were appropriate, except one $649 fee. This is a significant win for us, said DebtBox in a May 28th X post. It means that the SEC cannot proceed with cannot proceed with the case as it stands. The SEC lawsuit against DebtBox in July 2023 alleged the firm perpetuated an illegal $50 million crypto scheme. And since the company presented documents suggesting that the commission had made false statements and misrepresentations in attempting to obtain a temporary restraining order against the firm, many in the crypto space have cited this as an example of regulatory overreach. You hear that, Gensler? The commission has ongoing lawsuits against several crypto firms, including Binance, as Janet Yellen would say. And did you know Yellen is dishonest, as Tom Emmer called her out for? Yellen is dishonest, and so is Pocahontas. Kraken, Ripple, and Coinbase, many lawmakers in the U.S. and Congress have been pushing for regulatory clarity over at the SEC for their overreaching and all of that stuff. So, I mean, it is what it is. They're going to continue to make up their own rules and do things how they feel is best fit. But when it is corrupt and they start making up false accusations and shaking down companies for millions of dollars, something has to be done about it. So I am glad that this case will help set a President Trump for all this. So good stuff in my opinion. Overreach. That's right. Gary, why are you overreaching? What's up with the overreaching? Binance. There's a crypto exchange called Binance, and we want to shake them down for $4 billion. So, CZ, you need to go to jail. We're going to replace the CEO with somebody we approve of from the inside, if you know what I mean. Binance. Anyways, next story of the day, family. Let's keep it moving. BlackRock just overtook GBTC as the largest ETF hodler of the biddies in the entire world. So this is a big story. Headline reads, BlackRock's iBid overtakes GBTC as the world's largest Bitcoin ETF, but we all knew this was coming. BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF fund reportedly surpassed Grayscale's GBTC as the world's largest ETF, tracking the price of Bitcoin. As of the end of the trading day yesterday, May 28th, the BlackRock iShares Bitcoin Trust, known as iBit, recorded $102.5 million in inflows, while GBTC registered $105 million outflow. Womp womp. The inflow is reported to have brought BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF to a total. Okay, they're at 288,000. Okay. Compared to Grayscale, which now holds 287,000, despite beginning at 620,000. That's what I mean, yo. Bitcoin at the time of its conversion back in January, according to data from Huddle 15 Capital and the Apollo Bitcoin Tracker. Now, a May 29th report from Bloomberg, citing its own compiled data, said the fund held almost 20 billion of Bitcoin as of Tuesday, while Grayscale held 19.6 billion. Fidelity's ETF offering trailed at 11.1 billion, quoting them here. There is a new king in the land of Bitcoin ETFs, and it is BlackRock. Now, both ETFs launched on the same day back on January 11th. And BlackRock's ETF has since accounted for the lion's share of inflows across the 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs. Bitcoin is up was up. I think we captured actually 2 days ago. We hit 70,500, had a bit of a correction since then, still holding strong though above 67. Recent regulatory filing shows BlackRock's income and bond-focused funds bought shares of the Bitcoin ETF for the first quarter. We also have BlackRock Strategic Income Opportunities Fund, which snapped up 3.5 million worth of the iShares Bitcoin Trust, while the Strategic Global Bond Fund made a 485,000 purchase, according to the May 28 Securities and Exchange Commission filings. Spot Bitcoin ETFs globally now hold over 1 million Bitcoin, worth over $68 billion, equating to nearly 5% of the Bitcoin circulating supply. And Satoshi has 1 million Bitcoin, so there's 10% of the circulating supply family. Meanwhile, all eyes are peeled on the potential launch of the spot Ether ETFs, which analysts tip could launch as early as mid-June. That's right. More recently, the SEC had to give the green light and the nod for the Ethereum spot ETFs, and some analysts are anticipating that to come to fruition as far as a launch here soon. The ETFs are undergoing an S1 approval process, the final hurdle required before they can begin trading on their respective stock exchanges. So there you have it. Crypto fam, how much Bitcoin do you think Larry Fink's BlackRock will eventually acquire? Because they ain't slowing down, yo. They're only going to continue to go. We have a very finite limited supply of Bitcoin. So can you say supply shock? Anyways, fam, let's keep it moving. We still got a lot to share. I want to discuss with you this $200 trillion market cap prediction for crypto. 200 trillion. The all-time high is like 3 trillion. So that's a pretty bullish prediction. And then we'll discuss the latest of what's happening in El Salvador with Cathie Wood, Bukele, Max Keiser, and the rest of them. And then we'll dive into some live Q&A. Welcome everyone just joining the stream. Headline here reads, crypto market to hit 200 trillion within 10 years, according to Animoca's co-founder. That's right. The value of the global crypto ecosystem will grow exponentially in the coming years and has the potential to grow up to 200 times in a decade, according to the co-founder of the Hong Kong-based game software company and venture capital firm Animoca Brands. The crypto market, valued roughly right now at 2.7 trillion, is likely to double or triple soon. Yatsu predicted in the latest episode of the Valor Pod. He said here, in the near term, within 12 to 18 months, we can conceive of a doubling or a tripling of the space, expressing confidence that the industry will continue hitting new milestones afterward. He also said, basically, over a 5 or 10 year period, I'm expecting the space to accelerate 100 to 200 times to 200 trillion, or even bigger. I think we could reach that kind of number within a decade. The projected growth will be driven by the billions of people who become digital property owners in the Web3 ecosystem. Quoting him again, it is entirely conceivable that we are going to have 1 billion property owners because we are going to have 1 billion token holders. This is not possible in the physical world. And in the pod, he also opined that Asia has established itself as the fastest growing Web3 market, while jurisdictions like the US have been lagging behind. Quoting him again, right now, the leading force in Web3 is clearly Asia, the executive argued, referring to the solid adoption levels in the space like Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, and Japan. He also said normally the West, specifically the US, tends to lead in all technology areas, but in Web3 it has fallen behind for obvious reasons, partially also because there has been uncertainty on the regulatory side. Do you hear that, Gary? And for that reason, I think Asia is leading and will continue to lead. His optimism about the potential growth of the Web3 market aligns with his bullish stance on Bitcoin, as we know is the largest crypto with a 1.3 trillion market cap at the time of the stream. And in April, he made another bold long-term prediction saying what he does not doubt, the Bitcoin will reach $1 million per coin one day. And I obviously agree. I think that one day will come a lot sooner than most people are anticipating. But what are your thoughts? Let me know. Do you agree that we can likely see a 200 trillion crypto market cap and a easy peasy 1 million BTC? And by what year? Holla at your boy and let's go. Anyways, fam, keep the comments flowing. But now let's dive into our feature story of the day. The headline reads, El Salvador's Bitcoin and AI plans could boost their GDP tenfold by 2029, according to Cathie Wood, as shared here in the headline. That's right. But I want to start with a tweet from Max Keiser, because Max was actually just meeting up with all of them. You can see Max, Stacy, Bukele, Cathie Wood, and others. So I responded, so much brilliance in this room. And shout out to Max for reposting this. I greatly appreciate it. But you can see here, Cathie Wood plus Laffer Center plus Max and Stacy discuss Bitcoin and AI opportunities. In El Salvador, where President Bukele, Max also wrote, ARK Invest numbers are spot on. Personally, I have borrowed against my Bitcoin and bought several properties and brand new buildings and hotels. El Salvador, like MicroStrategy, can outperform Bitcoin over the next 5 years. Move to Bitcoin country. Word up. And let's see some other tweets. Cathie Wood wrote, President Bukele's determination to turn El Salvador into an oasis for the Bitcoin and AI communities, two of the biggest economic and technological revolutions in history, is the reason I believe that it is real GDP could scale tenfold during the next 5 years. That is real. Let me know if you agree with her. Max says the numbers check out. As he shares here, Cathie Wood walked us through the numbers. I'm a believer. I have a very high degree of confidence that ARK Invest's numbers for El Salvador's GDP, going from 30 to 300 billion over the next 5 years, which is 10x, are spot on. Have you booked your flight? And shout out to all the beautiful people of El Salvador for holding it down. So yeah, let's read a little deeper into the story. El Salvador can see its gross domestic product, better known as GDP, increase tenfold over the next 5 years if it stays with its Bitcoin and AI adoption plan under Bukele's presidency. And we all know Bukele just got reelected. Another 5 years, fam. Bullish. Now, President Bukele's determination to turn El Salvador into an oasis for the Bitcoin and AI communities, two of the biggest economic and technology revolutions in history, is the reason I believe the GDP can scale tenfold during the next 5 years, as Wood shared on X. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that sentiment. Bitcoin's integration into capital markets, AI, and tax policies were the main topics discussed between Wood and Bukele. Wood walked us through the numbers on how El Salvador could increase tenfold to 300 billion by 2029. And you can see another beautiful photo with Cathie Wood and Bukele. Mad respect. I would have loved to have been in that room, right? Now, Bitcoin advocate Stacey Herbert, U.S. economist Arthur Laffer, and ARK Invest research associates Mark Seal were also in that room in the meeting. El Salvador's GDP was 32.4 billion back in 2022, now up over 30% since Bukele first took office in June of 2019, according to World Bank data. If it reached 300 billion, it would put the Central American country's GDP roughly on par with Romania and the Czech Republic and Chile. Now, since Bukele's first presidential stint, El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender back in 2021, eliminated taxes related to tech innovation, and removed income tax for foreign investments and remittances back in March. It just keeps getting better in Bitcoin country. And in April of 2024, Google officially expanded into the country under a $500 million strategic partnership. El Salvador currently holds 5,764 biddies in its treasury, worth almost $400 million, marking a 58.6% increase from its average purchasing price. Take that, IMF. Now, Bitcoin's adoption amongst the local population arguably hasn't been as successful. A largely tech illiterate population, lack of merchant enforcement, and issues within the rollout of El Salvador's Chivo wallet in 2021 were amongst the most notable incidents that slowed the progress. Jamie Robinson, chief strategy officer of the Bitcoin hardware store, shared back in February. In 2023, only 12% of the local population used Bitcoin at least once to pay for goods and services. But I'll be the first to just share. We don't know if those numbers are skewed. We don't know the true, intent behind the guy sharing those numbers, because I find it hard to believe that only 12% of the population has used Bitcoin to pay for goods or services. I could be wrong. That's just my feedback. I want to know your thoughts. But anyways, fam, I want to know your thoughts regarding this major move with El Salvador, taking a strategic approach, investing in Bitcoin and AI, and doing business with Cathie Wood and ARK Invest. Do you think their GDP will realistically tenfold, as Max Keiser firmly believes so, Cathie Wood firmly believes so? So I want to know your personal thoughts. And also, more recently, Cathie Wood came out and she said Bitcoin can hit as high as $3.8 million now by the year 2030. It all depends upon the allocation from the major asset managers. I want to know your thoughts surrounding her bullish price prediction and your thoughts surrounding the GDP of El Salvador going to the moon, where no man has gone before. And how many of you are genuinely contemplating relocating to Bitcoin country? Holla at your boy, and I'll read as many of these comments out loud. Welcome to the Q&A segment of the live show. We're live and in the flesh. It's 5:05 p.m. right now here in Puerto Rico and in Brooklyn, New York. So the stream you see, as far as the chat stream, is coming from YouTube. So if you're watching on Rumble or X or any of the other platforms right now, I encourage you to visit cryptonewsalerts.net on YouTube specifically, so you can interact in the chat, share your comments, questions, and I'll address as many as I can. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. Locked and loaded. I'm reloaded. Here we go. What would happen if the Fed put Bitcoin on their books? Whoa. What would happen? That's a fantastic question. Maybe Bitcoin would become a world reserve currency. Maybe. El Salvador is the blueprint. Trump is going to look at it. Man, imagine Trump pulled the Bukele. Can we entertain that idea for a moment? What if, just hypothetically speaking, right? Trump says, we're going to make Bitcoin a legal tender. I love what Bukele is doing. You know Bukele and Trump have met. I've seen pictures of them together. What if, just hypothetically speaking, clearly, what if he says, United States, we got to do something. Biden has put us back decades. The only way to advance us as far as a country, we got to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. What would that do to Bitcoin, bro? Imagine full support from the United States government, something we never fathomed would ever happen. What if? And Nipsey's coming back. Give him a warm welcome because you know why he left the room earlier, yo. Respect to the Nippinator. Next country, Argentina. I'm a little sus with Malay. Personally, I hope he does the right thing, but I think we may have been played, and he may just be another WEF puppet. But I'm on the tube, so I digress. Yes, I am moving to El Salvador, Bitcoin country, the new land of the free. An opportunity. Can I get a hell yeah? That Bukele is a good egg. He's a rare man. He's 1 in 8 billion, bro. There's no other leaders like him in the world that have the kahunas to say to the IMF, go F yourselves. You know what I mean? And actually sticking to his word. You got to respect that. Bitcoin will go to 5 million. Easy peasy, broski. I agree, Abel. Appreciate you sharing that. Love the dream. Martin Luther had a dream. JV had a stream. What's up, Nip? Nipsey's back again. Trump actually said he wants to take care of the deficit.